cause that be natural.
Lady D.
Ain't looking tacky. I keep my game tactful.
Yo.
Yeah, I'm so nappy. Cause that be natural.
The infamous.
Ain't looking tacky cause I keep my game tactful.
I'm so pretty, I'm so fabu, I'm so natural, it's like it's a taboo. I'm so filthy, got the tattoos, stuck in these bitches like I own ragu. On my business with my platoon, getting these minutes like I'm a typhoon. Y'all this jersey on that cartoon and I'm still on top.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Afros and Baby Hairs, and thank you for joining me once again in the reading room for book review number 27 on The Coldest Winter Ever by Sister Soldier. So if you're interested in details as well as my thoughts and opinions on this book, then please keep on watching. I am not and do not encourage or promote anyone to read this book who is under the age of 18. If you are under the age of 18, please get your parents' consent and or supervision before reading this book. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, let's get into this book review. So yeah, guys, I'm going to go ahead and read the back of the book. And it reads, I came busting into the world during one of New York's worst snowstorms. So my mother named me Winter, ghetto born. Winter is the young, wealthy daughter of a prominent Brooklyn drug dealing family. Quick-witted, sexy, and business-minded, she knows and loves the streets like the curves of her own body. But when a cold winter wind blows her life in a direction she doesn't want to go, her street smarts and seductive skills are put to the test of a lifetime. Unwilling to lose, this ghetto girl will do anything to stay on top. So next, I'm going to introduce you to the characters. We have Alvin, Aunt B, Aunt Lori, Bianca, Big Mo, Bilal O'Day, aka Midnight, Bob Goldstein, Boom, Bryce, Bubbles, Butter, Cameron, Captain Chula, Shantae, Claudette, Doc, and then another Doc, Driguez, Doce Tristemente, Erlene, Frankie, Granny, Miss Griswoldy, Iris, Izzy, Jacob, Jamal, Judy, Kathy Johnson, Kim, KK, Lance, Lachey, Lauren, Lexus, Little Biz, Little Nickel, LX, Magdalena, Mercedes, Midnight, Monique, Moose, Natalie, Neek, Noni, Patches, Phoenix, Pizzas, Rashida, Reese, Ricky Jr., Ricky Santiago, Sarge, Saria, Sasha, Simone, Slick Kid, Sonia, Soldier, Tashay, Tasia, Tiffany, Tony, Tashi, Vanessa, Vega, Will, Winter, Santiago, Youngheads. This story is being narrated by a 15 or 16-year-old girl by the name of Winter. She starts off by telling us about herself, her family, and her hood. The setting is Brooklyn. The father is a man by the name of Ricky Santiago, who is a big-time drug dealer. Her mother is basically a trophy wife. Winter has 3 siblings, Portia, Mercedes, and Lexus, all girls. Winter is the oldest. She is spoiled and overprotected by her dad. Her mom is more lenient. I'm thinking because she was 14 when she had Winter. However, she is married to her baby's father, Ricky Santiago. Anyway, so far, Winter seems like she does what she wants in the street. She has plenty of friends whose parents are never around, so by the age of 12, Winter was having sex. She has a sugar daddy a couple of cities over. She has a friend that has taught her all the sex moves, friends that she smokes weed with and drinks beer with. However, her bestie seems to be Natalie. Winter goes to school when she has a new outfit to show off. Other than that, she barely attends school. She has a crush on a guy they call Midnight, who is 5 years her senior and works for her dad. But Midnight doesn't really pay her any attention. So in the first chapter, we learn about how her dad is running things via his drug operation. How the women in his life are spoiled, pampered, and protected. And we learned that Winter is basically a hood rich chick running around doing whatever, whenever she wants. However, On Winter's 16th birthday, her father informs them that they are moving to Long Island for their safety. So basically, Winter's entire life is about to change, and she has to leave her friends and her hood. In Long Island at the mansion, everyone was readjusting except for Winter. She missed Brooklyn, the hood, and her friends. She tried to hang out at the mall after discovering the bus stop. However, the kids were too snobby. Also, school definitely wasn't her thing because everyone was already linked and clicked up. So she went to school less often than she did in Brooklyn. At this point, we are still unsure as to what was the reason the dad decided to abruptly leave and relocate. Winter asked her dad if he would let her tag along to Brooklyn on his Friday run so that she could get her hair done at Earlene's. However, she really wanted to hit the streets. Her dad told her no, so she used plan B, which was to ask her mom if she could stay at her aunt's house for the weekend. The mom, of course, said yes, but Winter used her sugar daddy to be her ride. She did go to the hair salon and by the aunt's house, but she hooked up with her girl Natalie to hit the club. Natalie also informed her that her crush Midnight had hooked up with Tasia. He even got her a whip. So later at the club, Winter came on to Midnight, who basically dissed and dismissed her. After the club, he did, however, call her out in front of her girls and told her to hop in. Later, she finds out that her dad paid him to drive her back to Long Island. Once home, her dad got on to her, pretty much telling her she doesn't need to be hanging around in Brooklyn anymore because she is no longer protected there. In this chapter, Winter and her little sisters overheard their parents arguing because Santiago didn't get Winter's mom the car he promised, and it was now her birthday, and she was expecting a whip, especially on this day. So her mother was going in on the dad, and usually she never steps out of her character. After a while of arguing, the parents eventually left. After a while, Midnight showed up and told Winter to get her little sisters ready because they were coming with him. The only thing he told her at first was that something bad had happened. Once they were in the car, they listened to Sister Soldier once again on the radio speaking about how when you do bad, bad comes back. She spoke on African culture as well as issues in the black communities. However, Winter wasn't feeling nor comprehending what Sister Soldier was saying. Anyway, as they approached the hospital, Midnight decided to tell her that her mother had been shot in the face. Winter wasn't able to see her mom because she was in surgery. She did see her dad for a moment, and he was basically blaming himself because he felt like he should have went on and bought the car for his wife. Then he left, and eventually so did Winter and her little sisters. They left with Midnight and headed to a 5-star hotel. Although Midnight comforted her, he was still uninterested in hooking up or messing around with Winter. She tried different antics, but Midnight really wasn't into her like that. They were all stuck in the suite together for 3 days and filled their days mainly with shopping and eating out. Midnight's main goal was to protect the girls and also to keep the younger ones from knowing what was going on. So he tried to keep them busy with activities. Winter tried to seduce Midnight one night after getting out of the shower. He basically didn't pay her any attention, but eventually asked her what did she like to do. And Winter ended up saying something like screwing, shopping, partying, and hanging out with her girls. Midnight told her he had some books in his bag as well as some music, and she could pick something out of there. He had the books, The Art of War, The Wretched of the Earth, and Judas, The Judas Factor. The music in the band was Sade, I'll Be Sure, Stephanie Mills, In Vogue, and Blackstreet. Winter also found Midnight's wallet and sneakily went through it. She found some pictures of an older lady and one of a younger girl. Then she ran across a flyer for a Sister Soldier speaking event. After snooping through his wallet, she decided on the Walkman. Midnight took the girls home. He spoke with Santiago and then left. Santiago also spoke with Winter about staying out of Brooklyn and about being loyal. He also showed Winter the Mercedes he got for her mother that will be waiting for her once she comes home from the hospital in 2 weeks. Santiago also spoke to Winter about Midnight and how loyal and hardworking he was. They spoke a little about his past, but he made sure to tell Winter that Midnight wasn't the type of guy she needed because of the line of business he was in. He encouraged Winter to find a doctor, lawyer, or engineer. Winter talked to her girl Natalie on the phone, catching up on the latest, and Natalie reminded her that her birthday will be coming up in about a week. She wanted them to party together on a double date with Slick Kid and Bullet. When they were off the phone, Winter started to plan how she would be able to hang out with her Brooklyn friends on her 17th birthday. She started off by finessing her mother into letting her drive her to the mall so that they could shop and get pampered. She only did it so that her mother would get used to her pushing the Benz, so that when Friday came, she wouldn't have a problem letting her drive. Next, she began working on her dad, telling him that she needed to go to college parties if he wanted her to meet a doctor, lawyer, or those type of guys, and that a college party was going on the night of her birthday. He eventually told her she could go and gave her a curfew. The night of her birthday came and she was on her way to meet up with Natalie, Slick Kid, and Bullet in Manhattan. She decided to respect her dad's wishes to not go to Brooklyn, so they hung out in Manhattan. They grabbed some liquor, hit up some clubs, and then rented rooms at an upscale hotel. Winter messed around with Bullet, and Natalie was in a conjoined room with Slick Kid. They partied and video recorded the hotel party, and Winter left around 2:30 to head back to Long Island. Once she was home trying to sneak in through the back, her mother caught her with a .22 in hand. She was hysterical because while Winter was in Manhattan partying, their mansion had been raided and her dad had been detained along with a slew of his workers out of Brooklyn. Winter and her mom were basically broke. Sell things, even the house. The Lexus had been seized. Later, the Benz was seized. They eventually locked up Winter's mom, and after Winter came back from visiting her dad, Magdalena quit on her and told her CPS had come to take her sisters. The only person Winter had that could help her was her sugar daddy. He let her use the car while he was at work, and she went to visit her father's attorney and told him about everything, including the message from Santiago to use the key for payment. As Winter was leaving, the lawyer told her because she is 17, the CPS will be coming for her as well. So anyway, when Winter made it close by her house, she noticed that it was blocked off and guarded. She spoke with one of the officers, and he told her she would have to prove to a judge with pay stubs that she could afford the things inside the house. Otherwise, everything is considered to be purchased with illegal money and is now considered government property. Winter got in contact with Midnight and they met up in Manhattan. He pretty much told her that her dealings with Bullet, who she found out through Natalie, was expecting a newborn. But anyway, Bullet was part of the setup and was working with the other side. And that video she made butt naked in the hot tub on her birthday was plastered on the TV at some bar Midnight was chilling at. They used the video to make fun of Santiago, and the whole time she was partying, her pops was getting raided. Either way, Midnight and Slick Kid had an altercation that night because of the video, and that was the only reason why he ended up spending 2 nights in jail. Winter and Midnight discussed a little bit about there being no 30 stacks. There was some sort of problem, but he told her he would talk to Santiago about it, and then he would try to get her some cash. Winter and her mom went to the prison to visit Santiago a couple of days prior than what he told her, which was supposed to be on a Thursday. Anyway, they found out about Santiago's mistress, who was about 20 years old, and his newborn son. The girl was a Latina. At first, the mom almost gave the girl a beatdown. However, after the mom went to the back, that's when Winter had words with the chick. Later, Winter and her mom went to CPS. They found out that the girls were separated and were in different cities. They also found out that they were looking for Winter since she was underage. So Winter told them that she was Rosie, a family friend. CPS told the mom that she needed to get some employment and an adequate place to live, and that her visits with her children would have to be supervised. In the meantime, they put her on the list for shelter and assistance. They eventually went to visit Portia, who almost blew Winter's cover. She complained about her clothes, bed toys, and other things, and told her mom she wanted to leave with them. Winter and her mom also paid Goldstein, the family lawyer, a visit. He was busy working on the case, dealing with their property, the children's court case, the mom's case, as well as Santiago's case, all of which was draining the $30,000 Santiago had set aside and still needed another $10,000. Winter met up with Midnight again, and he told her there wasn't any more money and he was about to dip. At that point, she thought Midnight was suspect. She figured he'd taken all of Santiago's money after setting everybody up because he was the only one free, and now he was bailing. Midnight had to explain to her that first, he is loyal to Santiago and he would never do anything like that. Then he explained to her that he learned to be smart. He never bought flashy stuff, never kept work at home or on him, never talked too much, and never dealt with emotional or stupid women who talk too much. She then knew that Midnight knew all along about Santiago's mistress. Anyway, she tried to get Midnight to team up with her and work together, but he refused and told her she was too dumb, especially when she thought she was hiding something from her girls in the hood, when the whole time the news and the newspapers had been reporting everything about her dad since the arrest. He told her she didn't even know what was going on around her. He did give her an envelope and a card and told her to go talk to the lady on the card, which was Sister Soldier. When Winter opened the envelope, there was only $3,000 in it. Winter tried to get a little apartment in Harlem. She finessed the suspicious landlord and lied on the application to only realize she couldn't cover the security deposit and the first and last month's rent. She was forced back to the sugar daddy, but when she got there, her clothes were packed and waiting at the door. Sterling, the sugar daddy, also had his older plus-size girlfriend there, and she was under the impression that Winter and Sterling were cousins, and he was babysitting her for 2 weeks until her parents got back in town. So he hurried and got Winter up out of there. From there, she contacted her girl Natalie to plan a meetup, and then she headed to her Aunt B's house in Brooklyn. Aunt B was not at all excited to see her because she had company over. So Winter washed up and headed to Natalie's. There all her girls were waiting: Asia, Zakia, Natalie, Tashi, Monique, Reese, and Simone. And Simone was now pregnant by someone named Little Biz, who she had just broken up with. The girls spent the entire night drinking, smoking weed, playing spades, and chilling until Natalie's mom came home around 5 a.m. Then everyone started peeling out. On the way back to her Aunt B's apartment, Winter saw her mom, bald-headed and looking skinnier than usual. They spoke to one another briefly. However, Winter was left wondering why her mom was out that time of morning, claiming to be looking for her. The next day, Simone and Winter went to the mall searching for outfits to wear to an up-and-coming party. Winter spent about $500 while Simone boosted everything she picked out. They later decided they would return Winter's outfits. They also decided to rent a limo to ride into the party. Everybody who was somebody was there. Natalie was up in the skybox with her new boiler boyfriend, Will. Natalie was also wearing a $3,500 outfit, and Winter was feeling some type of way. She felt like Natalie was actually trying to be the old her. After the club, Natalie invited everyone to eat at the diner. Simone had to fill Winter in on how Natalie turned into the new it girl. She reminded her of the video that was made at her 17th birthday party when they filmed naked in the jacuzzi. Well, on the same video, Natalie was giving Slick Kid fellatio, and every dude in the hood wanted a piece of Natalie, and that's how she ended up being Will's girl. At the diner, Winter went to the restroom to check herself, and when she came out, she noticed Will using a payphone by the restroom. He turned and flirted with her a little, then asked for her number. She was reluctant at first because Natalie was her girl, but after he assured her he wasn't into Natalie like that, and as desperate and as jealous as Winter was, she gave in and began reaching in her bag for a pen and paper. And at the same time, Will was grabbing a pen, and that's when Natalie walked up on them. She started to go off, but Will told her a lie and grabbed her up to calm her down. Back at the tables, Natalie and Winter began to scream insults and threats at one another. Natalie even mentioned that she had gotten the $3,500 outfit from the auction where they were selling all of Winter's family stuff, and she yelled out that Winter's mom was now a crackhead. Winter and Simone eventually left after Natalie threatened to beat down Winter if she caught her anywhere. On B's house, Natalie began calling and threatening, then calling and not saying anything. She called back to back. Eventually, Will called and later picked Winter up to take her to the movies. She tried to get him to let her on the team, but he wasn't with it. He also told Winter why he was dealing with Natalie, and it was basically fellatio purposes only. He also mentioned to Winter about his homosexual tendencies as well, because he allowed male crackheads to give him fellatio as well, and he enjoyed them more than he did women. So ultimately, Winter was turned off by him, but still needed him for business purposes. At the apartment, Natalie was still calling, and she told Winter she saw her getting out of Will's car, so beatdown would basically be on site. When Winter went to take a shower, her aunt told her someone was there to see her. But when she made it back to the room to get dressed, she noticed that her money that was pinned to her bra was missing. She began to search for it, but still didn't locate it. Then her aunt came in and told her that CBS was there to get her, and immediately she thought her aunt ratted her out. But the aunt blamed it on Natalie and reminded her that she didn't want them in her business. Then Winter asked about her money, and of course the aunt played dumb, and then they eventually got into an altercation, and the aunt screamed to the CBS worker that Winter was violent, and they had witnessed how she attacked her when all she did was try to help her. Winter got placed into a group home. There she went through the entire intake process as well as the evaluations needed. She met some of the girls that lived there, and she had 3 roommates, Claudette, Lachey, and Rashida. She was assigned a new caseworker by the name of Kathy Johnson. She was also required to go to counseling and to a psychiatrist. She learned the rules and learned about some of the girls over the next couple of weeks. Then she developed a hustle to get her paid. She was clearing a couple of $1,000s a month, providing manicures, facial, fashions, doing hair, and providing a few other needs for the girls. She was using her boosting friend Simone to get all the things she needed, as well as Lachey to make the transaction. Over the course of time, Winter finally gained the trust she needed to be able to get privileges and eventually went to see her dad. However, he refused to see her and made Winter depressed for 3 days. The counselors forced her to go to the psychiatrist and to therapy, and she got into an argument with Rashida before she left. The argument started because Rashida was explaining to her about the pain she once felt, and then after going through trying to take her life, even though unsuccessful, she still felt pain. However, she received help through finding Allah as well as Sister Soldier, and she invited Winter to come with her to hear her speak. And she told her about the donations they gave at the end of the event. And that's what Winter insulted her by simply making her feel stupid for giving someone money who didn't do anything. Anyway, when Winter came out of her little depression bout, she tried to make amends with Rashida. Went and met with Simone. They discussed a new hustle that would include drugs. Winter needed someone to help her find a connect. They also discussed a concert that was coming up, and they planned to go. And of course, Winter needed a designer fit to show off in. She told Simone where it was, and Simone agreed to get it for her. Over the next few days, Winter didn't hear from Simone, and eventually she called informing Winter that she had got caught trying to boost the expensive outfit Winter needed for that concert. She pleaded with Winter to help her get out of jail because she didn't want to have her baby in their dirty jail cell. Over the next few days, Winter decided against helping her friend. She didn't want to waste her money on that. Winter went to visit her dad after buying a few gifts for him. However, when she got there, they told her that he didn't want any visitors. She was confused as to why he didn't want to see her, but she left. Later, she received a letter from him telling her that he didn't want to see her that day because he needed a shave and a haircut, but he was writing her to ask her to get in contact with Midnight because he needed him to do something that he didn't trust anybody else to do. Rashida mentioned Sister Soldier and Midnight to Winter. She had asked Sister Soldier about him, and Soldier basically said she knows him. So Rashida took Winter, asking about Midnight as her being in love with him. They spoke briefly on the topic, and the only thing she learned was that Soldier had spoke to Midnight recently and he was doing better. Macy's, a security guard, had been watching her, Winter, and assumed she was stealing because she was acting suspicious as well as carrying an oversized bag. He made her come into his office and empty the contents of her bag. Then he searched her while fondling her. He probably would have done more than that if another employee hadn't walked in. When Winter went back to Rikers to see her father, a prison guard told her he had killed a couple of inmates and had been moved up north. So at this point, she was clueless as to where her father was. And at this point, she decided to pretend that her entire family was dead and that she couldn't think about anyone else in order to survive. On the way back from the prison, before Winter made it to the group home, she was walking and noticed some girls posted waiting to jump her. Simone was one of them. She was still pregnant, and somehow she managed to get out of jail and got a crew together to come attack Winter. Winter took off running because she was outnumbered and didn't know what type of weapons these girls had. Simone was right on Winter's heels, chasing her at full speed, and then eventually Simone fell right on her stomach and Winter kept running and hopped on a train. She saw a couple of girls trying to help Simone and the other ones throwing up the middle finger at her. Stopped to call the group home. She wanted to talk to Rashida, but Lachey is the one who ended up speaking to her. She told Lachey to meet her the next day with some clothes and necessities. So she had to inform Lachey about the key to the lock on her suitcase so that she could get her stuff. Lachey agreed. Winter waited on Lachey. She actually saw Rashida. Rashida was coming to help her, although at first Winter was trying to dodge her. Anyway, once she decided to talk to Rashida, Rashida told her that Simone and Lachey hung out for hours the previous day, talking about how they were going to get revenge on Winter, and they had plans to kill her. When Winter had called and spoke to Lachey about getting her things, she actually opened her suitcase, took what she wanted for herself, and gave the rest of Winter's stuff away to the other girls in the house because Lachey felt betrayed by Winter when she cut her out of the hustle. So she also felt used. So when Simone showed up for revenge, Lachey was all in. Anyway, Rashida talked Winter into going to Sister Soldier's house to hide out, and Rashida helped her get there. Once they arrived at Sister Soldier's house, Winter was impressed by the 5-story home. When they were led inside, they were greeted by a housekeeper and then led upstairs. Rashida went in a room to talk to Soldier before Winter actually met her. When Soldier came out, Winter began lying. She basically dismissed anything Rashida had told her. Then she lied like her name was Sasha. She lied like Midnight was her cousin and lied that her mom was dying and that she needed to get in contact with Midnight to let him know. Soldier told Winter/Sasha that she could stay there. She showed her the room she could share with her sister Lauren, who Winter/Sasha met later. Later, when Lauren arrived, the girls were introduced. Lauren told Sasha the house rules, and the two of them clicked because they were similar in age and habits. Anyway, later, a famous rapper came by to visit Sister Soldier, and Winter/Sasha began plotting and planning. She didn't think Soldier was good enough for GS, the rapper, because she was too basic, and because Winter/Sasha thought she was bougie. With a banging body, she deserved him. Plus, she loved that he was rich. Winter/Sasha met Doc, the lady who owned the house and practiced medicine out of the house on the lower levels. She found out that Doc allowed Sister Soldier to live in the property rent-free, and she donated to Soldier's cause frequently. They went shopping with Doc, so they were able to ride around in Doc's Mercedes as well as to visit high-end stores. Winter/Sasha still had about $2,000 from her hustle at the group home, so she was able to still buy a few things and pretend to be loaded. However, Lauren ended up purchasing a bag that was identical to a bag Winter/Sasha bought. A few days, Soldier talked to Winter/Sasha about her plans for the future. If she had decided to further her education, she told her that she thought Winter/Sasha was creative. She could possibly be a stylist, hairdresser, or decorator, and she gave her some career guides to look over So of course, Winter wasn't trying to hear none of that. Winter had made up in her mind that Soldier was a hustler and a control freak that wanted everyone to do as she said, and they paid her for it. Over time, Winter/Sasha went to some of the womanhood meetings that Soldier conducted because that was a part of the house rules. She also went with Soldier to a women's prison to visit the ladies in the HIV wing and heard the speech that Soldier had for them. Yet and still, Winter/Sasha was unmoved, and when they returned to the house, Winter rushed to take a hot shower. Winter/Sasha was finally invited into Soldier's bedroom, and the only thing Winter was concerned about was how much money Soldier spent to get this round customized bed in there with customized sheets and bedding. She also noticed the file cabinet inside the bedroom, the bookshelves, the exercise bike, the change thrown all over the floor, and all of the fast food trash accumulating in the room. Soldier eventually told her the file cabinet is where she filed letters she had written to people. She would photocopy the letters before mailing them. At one point, Winter snuck in Soldier's room to look in the file cabinet, hoping to find some info on Midnight. The only thing is she couldn't find anything on him at that point because she didn't know his real name and was looking under M for Midnight, which was his nickname. Sasha is now running low on money, so at this point she is making plans to rob Doc. So she goes down to talk to her, pretending to be interested in medicine, only so that she can find out how Doc takes payment so that she can later rob the stash. Of course, Doc is eager to show Winter around, and during this tour and time spent with Doc, she discovers that Doc makes about $300 per patient that she sees. She also discovered Doc's stash box that eventually she robbed one day when Doc was busy and Lauren was busy helping the Doc take calls. The opportunity to see several men come to the house to attend Sister Soldier's manhood meeting and wonder why the men came for Soldier and wonder about what they were discussing. Winter/Sasha about GS's birthday party that was coming up, so of course Winter had to spend her stolen money on an outfit for that event because the ballers, rappers, and other celebrities would be there. The night of the event, Lauren and Winter/Sasha rode with Doc in their Mercedes. Soldier was with GS and his crew in VIP, and everybody who was somebody was at this birthday celebration. Winter ran into Bullet and basically dismissed him because she remembered that he was working with the enemy that took down her father's empire. In the meantime, Lauren was trying to get security to let them in VIP. The security guy, whose name was Frankie, didn't let them in. However, he told them about a house party that GS was having after the club, and he told them they just needed to go out back and hop into those black SUVs to attend this party. He also threw in that only the finest ladies got to ride with security to the house party. About 60 girls loaded up in the 4 SUVs to head to the house party. At the mansion where the private party was being held, after about an hour had passed, the ladies began to ask the security guys where GS was. That's when one of the security guys decided it was time to have a beauty contest to see which lady would get to spend the night with GS. Ultimately, after the ghetto beauty contest that Winter/Sasha won, she was escorted upstairs to GS's pitch black room. Once inside, she didn't turn on any lights and walked over, liquor bottles, trying to get to a butt naked GS waiting in the bed. She stripped out of her clothes and began to do all she could to satisfy and please that man in bed. After she was done, she passed out. The next morning, Winter was asleep, still in the mansion, butt naked, when a random stranger woke her up to tell her she wasn't supposed to be there. They also told Winter that it was a set for a video shoot GS was scheduled to do later that morning. Winter got dressed and proceeded to leave the empty mansion that now only had a few of the security guards left outside from the night before. One of the security guards told her that everything was rented and was a part of the video shoot, even the black SUVs. A couple of days later at Soldier's house, Winter/Sasha was looking forward to GS coming by, especially after that night they had spent together. However, when GS finally did come over, nothing about him has changed. He was still dismissing Winter/Sasha and looking for a Soldier. But Winter kept coming at him like he was supposed to be all over her. GS was getting annoyed because he felt like Winter/Sasha wanted to seduce him like every other groupie. So they had a little argument because the way Winter/Sasha was sweating him. Soldier heard the drama and came out of her room to see what was up, but GS and Winter brushed it off. Winter/Sasha was still determined to get with GS, so she asked Lauren to give the security guard Frankie a call so that they could find out what GS was up to. Lauren agreed to call Frankie, but really didn't want to. After he was on the line, she kept asking him things about GS that made Frankie feel some type of way. So Lauren ended up telling him that she was asking all the questions about GS for Winter/Sasha. That's when Frankie told her that Winter/Sasha shouldn't be asking about GS because the other security guard named Tony is the one she slept with. That's when Tony started shouting out details of the night no one else would know, and Winter/Sasha was embarrassed and mad at the same time. Sister Soldier had set up a community meeting at the local church, and the ladies from the womanhood group had to be ushers wearing white tops and red skirts. So of course Winter/Sasha was one of the ushers responsible for the collection plate. So eventually Winter stole about 7 stacks from the money that would have went to different charities. She told Soldier that she wasn't feeling well and needed to go home. Sister Soldier told her it was okay, thanked her for helping, and told her she would have a check for her later. Winter/Sasha was back at Soldier's house where Lauren was helping Doc with supplies. Winter rushed to go pack up her things in a Nike bag. She grabbed her purse that she had bought that day, went out shopping with Doc, and stuffed her new stash in it, all except $40. She put that in her bra. Then she snuck into Soldier's room to get the file belonging to Midnight. She learned his real name after speaking again with Soldier. Just as Winter/Sasha was about to bounce, Lauren stopped her and asked her to help bring in the supplies, all while noticing the bags Winter/Sasha was carrying. So instead of acting suspicious, Winter agreed to help with the supplies. Once they were done, she fed Lauren some lie like she was going to visit her dying mom at the hospital for a couple of nights. Winter got a taxi to take her to the Marriott in New Jersey for $35. She paid him from the $40 she had tucked in her bra. Once at the hotel, after trying to get a room, she realized that Lauren had switched purses with her. So Winter was penniless because Lauren now had the $7,000 that was stolen from the event. So Winter was up the creek without a paddle. Winter hung out at the hotel bar for a while, found a payphone and tried to call her sugar daddy, Sterling, to only find out his number was disconnected. She went into the hotel bathroom to change clothes because she was still wearing the Usher uniform. Once changed, she realized her diamond jewelry was gone and so was her weapon. So she grabbed a pair of socks, went outside, filled the socks with the heaviest and sharpest rocks she could find, then went back into the hotel bar. She sat at the bar for a while, asking the bartender questions, trying to get as much info as she could about the town from him. Later, a wealthy-looking older lady came in and Winter peeped her out. Soon thereafter, Winter went and posted outside, and about 20 minutes later, the old lady came out preparing to leave. Winter ended up knocking the lady out cold with the socks of rocks and robbed her for $200 cash, a credit card, and some Gucci shoes. She left the lady in between some cars and walked to the bus stop the bartender had told her about. She caught the bus to a Holiday Inn where she checked into a room, cleaned up, and began to read the contents of Midnight's file she stole from Soldier. The next morning, she decided she would go get a bus ticket to Silver Springs, Maryland to find Midnight because that was the location on the postmark from his letters. Once she got the bus ticket and was about 5 minutes from boarding, she got a page on the beeper from Bullet. She used the guy in the bus station's phone to call him. He wished her a happy birthday, which Winter had forgotten all about amidst her chaos. Bullet had remembered spending her 17th birthday with her and wanted to spend this one with her as well. He told her he would pick her up and that they were going to Key West to celebrate. She caught a shuttle to the mall, went in Victoria's Secrets to get some lingerie, and then waited on Bullet outside of Nordstrom's. He eventually pulled up in a Lexus and told her to throw away her Nike bag and everything in it. Then they headed to the airport and caught a first-class flight to Key West, Florida. During the few days Bullet and Winter spent in Key West, the two of them relaxed, hung out, made out, and everything else, including talking about what happened as far as Bullet being a snitch and the downfall of Santiago's whole operation. They also spoke about Simone miscarrying her baby, about a girl that tried to put a baby on Bullet, and that Winter no longer wanted to live in Brooklyn, mainly because of embarrassment and because of the beef she was caught up in. Either way, once returning, they had to spend a little time in Brooklyn until they found a new spot. So while she laid low in Brooklyn, her mother, who was now a full-blown crackhead with only 2 teeth left in her mouth, ended up coming to Bullet's house for crack that Winter had to serve her with. The next few days, Winter just hid out in the apartment, and eventually she was allowed to go look for an apartment in Manhattan. She found one, but Bullet had to show up with the funds. Over the next few weeks, she picked out home decor for the apartment, but Bullet would never put money in her hands and always had someone watching her every move. He also wouldn't help her locate what prison her dad was in, nor even discuss it with her anymore. Bullet ended up taking Winter to a party that included guests that Winter had never seen or heard of before. Their group included Bryce, Roland, Tiffany, and Iris. However, when the ladies went to the restroom, they included Winter in a transaction she wasn't aware of. Later, Bullet explained to her he didn't tell her about the transaction because he wanted her to act natural. Upon leaving the party, one of GS's security guards from the house party noticed her and called out to her as Sasha. Of course, Winter responded that wasn't her name, and then Bullet, now offended that the man was even talking to her, and he told the security guard that he had the wrong girl. The security guy tried to explain that he knew her from GS's party, but Winter denied it. Once Bullet and Winter were about to leave the venue, they were in their car passing GS's car when Bullet stopped, rolled down his window, and asked GS if he knew Winter. GS responded no, then they left. Of course, Winter wondered why GS denied knowing her, but she didn't worry about it for too long. Later, she heard on the news that GS's security guard that called her out was found murdered. Winter found out she was pregnant, and she was unsure who her baby father was, but she was sure it wasn't Bullet's because she hadn't been dealing with him that long. And at that point, she was close to 3 months. So it could have been Sterling's baby, Tony's baby, or Boom's baby. So she opted to abort after stealing some money from Bullet one night. Either way, the doorman had put Bullet up on the disappearance of Winter for about 3 hours the day she aborted. Bullet made her have intercourse with him the same night, then pretty much left her caged in the bedroom for the next 3 days because he had brought 3 Rottweilers that he left in the living room. Once Bullet returned, he got Winter some food. They walked the dogs and talked. Bullet asked her questions about her bus ticket she had to Silver Springs, Maryland, and about a few other things that Bullet called her lying about. Either way, he was setting up another transaction that he needed Winter to be a part of. He wanted to dress up like church people. They had 3 teddy bears filled with cocaine, so they were going to rent a car in Winter's name since she applied for a credit card after seeing Doc with one. They will put a car seat in the back seat along with the 3 teddy bears and drive down south to Baltimore. They would first need to drop the Rottweilers and the Lexus off in Brooklyn before heading out. So once they got the rental, with the help of a chick named Donna, they headed to Brooklyn. When they made it to the hood, there was already a commotion going on. Something was on fire. Anyway, Winter's mom noticed Bullet's Lexus and made her way over and eventually saw Winter in the car and told her she had 3 letters from Santiago that she needed to give to her. Just as Bullet was walking up and trying to scare Winter's crackhead mom away, Winter got out of the car to retrieve the letters. Her mother teased her with the letters because she wanted crack, but Winter body slammed her mom and grabbed the envelopes. Then Bullet made Winter get back in the rental and threw $10 at her mom, and she quickly got out of there. Bullet put the 3 teddy bears in the car seat into the rental's back seat. A few minutes later, he threw the duffel bags full of weapons into the trunk of the rental. Winter reminded him of the 22 she left in Bullet's Lexus, just as his boy was pulling off in it. Bullet ran behind it, trying to stop his homeboy as Winter sat in the rental. Next thing you know, Simone had threw a brick in the passenger seat straight at Winter's head. Then she swung the door open and the girls began to fight, eventually falling out of the rental. Simone found a bottle nearby and broke it as Winter looked away to watch Bullet coming through the crowd with gun in hand. Simone took the opportunity to slice her across the face with the bottle. As Winter held her face and blood gushed, bystanders bonked out, including Simone. Bullet led a bleeding Winter back to the rental and set her inside. Just then, the police pulled up behind the rental car and people in the crowd pointed out the rental Winter was seated in, and Bullet was walking around the car as if he was headed to the driver's seat. However, he kept on walking past it, on down the sidewalk, like he didn't have anything to do with the whole ordeal. Served 7 years and had 8 more to go when she found out about her mother's passing and was about to be taken to the funeral. At this point in time, Natalie, Zakia, Shantae, Simone, and a few other girls from Brooklyn were now doing time in the same prison as her. Also, Winter and Simone had somewhat made up. Winter also had been receiving mail from her dad, who was actually still at Rikers, just in a different building. Bullet was still free and was now into a bootlegging business. Natalie told Winter about him when she came to the prison for riding in the car with contraband. Also, Bullet had a record store, which was a legit business. Winter was taken to Queens for the funeral. Her father was already there when she got there. He had 3 officers with him. They greeted each other. They both looked in the casket, and of course Santiago didn't recognize his wife, and he also broke down. A little while later, Midnight, his wife, his sister, and the twins, Lexus and Mercedes, walked up together. Midnight shared a hug and words with Santiago. Soon a black Mercedes pulled up at high speed. It was Portia. She hugged Winter, kissed her dad, and waved at Midnight and her other sisters. She then sat next to Winter and filled her in on a few things, such as why she hadn't been to visit her. Now she was with some dude named Buster, who was obviously a drug dealer. How Midnight got married, found his sister, and then adopted Lexus and Mercedes, who were now about 15 years old and were more conservative and religious. She also told Winter that Midnight owned a barbershop in Maryland and that she and Buster lived in a park in Manhattan. Winter wanted to warn her sister about the lifestyle, but chose not to. She figured her sister would learn on her own. So yeah, this is basically where the book ends. However, there is some commentary in the back of this particular novel where Sister Soldier answers popular questions, and then she breaks down the main characters so that you can get a full understanding of who they were and what roles they played. She also gives insight of who she is as far as a lyricist, activist, and writer. So my thoughts on this book, which I don't have too many because you basically can come to your own conclusions about this particular story, but here are mine. It took me a minute to get into this book, learning the characters and the environment. However, from the beginning, I felt like Winter had a double life in front of her parents, especially Santiago. She seemed to be innocent. She carried this innocent persona, but in her social life, she was fast and grown, doing way too much at such a young age. Also, as overprotective as her father tried to be, because of his drug lifestyle, he couldn't be available when she needed guidance the most. Also, by her mother having her so young, she was not wise enough, nor did she seem to care enough about her daughter's well-being. This book was a good read, and a lot of what Winter experienced in life I had experienced in mine, but for different reasons. So I could definitely relate. I really don't have a lot to say other than I don't understand why these people that choose this particular lifestyle for survival purposes, why they don't find a way to get in and then out as quickly as possible. I feel like if it's a last resort, then get your money and then create a legitimate business for yourself like Midnight did. Y'all just let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below, and also whether this was a good read for you. Our next book will be on Long Live the Cartel by Ashley Jaquavis, simply because we should have read this novel before Money Devils 1. Now we need to catch up on the details that we missed out on. So please copy your copy. You can get it from Amazon. I know for sure that's where I got mine from. But anyway, we will be starting on this book immediately. Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me in the reading room today. I really appreciate your time and energy. I look forward to seeing you all on the next book review. Peace and love. And as always, be blissful.
DJ Mike C on the track.
Cause that be natural.
Lady D.
Ain't looking tacky. I keep my game tapped.
Yo,
Yeah, I'm so nappy. Cause that be natural.
The infamous.
Ain't looking tacky. Cause I keep my game tapped.
I'm so pretty, I'm so fabu, I'm so natural, it's like it's a taboo. I'm so filthy, got the tattoo, fucking these bitches like I own ragu. On my business with my platoon, getting these minutes like I'm a kafu. Y'all is jersey on that cartoon, and I'm sitting on top of these buffaloes. I'm so nappy, I'm so nappy. All these dudes that wanna get at me, I'm so cultured and I'm happy. Jealous witches wanna come back me, cause I'm comfortable in my skin. End of the day, you lose, I win. I'm so comfortable in my ends, don't care if I make or lose a few friends, and I look like $1 trillion. Lady, we won a lotto, cause in the Lord I trust, and beauty is the motto. Naturally thick in the butt, I'm Billy Blanks on the Tabo. Edges a little rough, just pretend I'm from Morocco or